Donald Trump just suffered a global humiliation and is unfortunately too stupid to see it. He just wrapped up his meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping, who, as expected, totally outplayed Trump and secured major concessions from the United States in exchange for virtually nothing. The competence disparity was even manifest in their body language when they stood beside each other, and even Fox News was left desperately trying to cope. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, friends, we have several things to dive into, but just to give you, again, the body language demonstration, compare Trump to Xi right here.
Mr. President, the President of the People's Republic of China.
Good to meet you. Great pleasure to see you again.
Good to see you again.
很高兴再次见你。Me too.
And we're going to have a very successful meeting, I have no doubt.
我肯定我们今天会有非常成功的会议。
But he's a very tough negotiator. That's not good.
但是他是很强硬的谈判者哦，这不好。
We know each other well.
我们相互之间非常了解。
Mr. President, do you plan to sign a trade deal today?
Could be.
有可能，
I think we'll have a great understanding.
但是我们会达成很好的
We
理
have a
解。
great relationship. We've always had a great relationship.
我们之间的关系很好，关系总是很好。
我们之间的关系。
那问他是不是还在为美国的大众？
Will you discuss Taiwan, sir?
他们在下面论述。
Which way?
Oh my God. Okay, again, we'll get to the substance of this in just a second, but like this did not look good. This was an ill harbinger of things to come. You can even see it in the body language. Xi is staring straight ahead at the camera, barely glancing at Trump from sides. Trump's body language is like fixated on Xi, and he's talking about how great Xi is, patting him on the back, lots of physical affection. It almost looked like the world's most awkward Hinge date, right? Like, you know, one person shows up and they're eager, they're ready, they have the little hard eye emojis basically bursting through their own eyes. The other person's kind of disinterested, like, oh my God, let's just get through this meal and then I can ghost you and never talk to you again. It did not bode well, and it certainly didn't manifest itself very well in the results. Now, again, before we get to those results, I want you to see how Fox News was desperately coping with what we just saw, because it's embarrassing.
This is an America First agenda. This is what we voted for, strong foreign policy. And you even see the way he's shaking his hand. President Trump has control of that room, and I have a lot of confidence in this meeting.
3 hours later. I mean, it's just, again, it's a meme. I mean, it's very obvious that Trump did not have control of that room at all. It was patently obvious to anybody paying attention. China, U.S. extends suspension of 24% reciprocal tariff for 1 year. Xi got everything out of Trump in exchange for nothing. Trump says, I had a truly great meeting with President Xi of China. There's enormous respect between our two countries, and that will only be enhanced with what just took place. We agreed on many things, with others, even of high importance, being very close to resolved. I was extremely honored by the fact that President Xi authorized China to begin the purchase of massive amounts of soybean, sorghum, and other farm products. You were honored? Like, even the language he uses. Now, Trump on paper is more powerful even than the president of China, because the United States is still the world's foremost military and economy, right? But just I'm honored that you would start to do the sort of business that you were actually doing with us before. So again, as you'll see, virtually no major concessions from China, but major concessions given to China by the United States. Our farmers will be very happy. In fact, as I said once before during my administration, farmers should immediately go out and buy more land and larger tractors. I would like to thank President Xi for this. Additionally, China has agreed to continue the flow of rare earth, critical minerals, magnets openly and freely. Very significantly, China has strongly stated that they will work diligently with us to stop the flow of fentanyl into our country. They will help us end the fentanyl crisis. China has also agreed they will begin the process of purchasing American energy. In fact, a very large-scale transaction may take place during the purchase of oil and gas from the great state of Alaska. Chris Wright, Doug Burgum, and our respective energy teams will be meeting to see if such an energy deal can be worked out. The agreements today will deliver prosperity and security to millions of Americans. After this historic trip to Asia, I'm now heading back to Washington, D.C. I want to thank the great countries of Malaysia, Japan, and South Korea for being so generous, gracious, and hospitable. Also, Australia, Canada, New Zealand, Singapore, Thailand, and Vietnam, who were at the dinner last night hosted by His Excellency. Hundreds of billions of dollars are being brought into our country because of them. Our nation is strong, respected, and admired again, and the best is yet to come. Now it's almost like that record skip. Here's the reality. From the New York Times. The art of letting Trump claim a win while walking away stronger. By withholding soybean purchases and rare earth exports, China extracted relief from U.S. tariffs and delayed export controls without conceding much in return. When Xi Jinping walked out of his meeting with President Trump on Thursday, he projected the confidence of a powerful leader who could make Washington blink. The outcome of the talks suggested that he succeeded. By flexing China's near monopoly on rare earths and its purchasing power over U.S. soybeans, Xi won key concessions from Washington, a reduction in tariffs, a suspension of port fees on Chinese ships, and the delay of U.S. export controls that would have barred more Chinese firms from accessing American technology. Both sides agreed to extend a truce struck earlier this year to limit tariffs. Quote, "What's clear is they have become increasingly bold in exerting leverage and are happy to pocket any and all U.S. concessions," said Julian Gerwitz, who is a senior China policy official at the White House and State Department in President Biden's administration. Sounding almost like he was delivering a lecture, Xi said to Trump that the, quote, "recent twists and turns of the trade war should be instructive to them both," according to a Chinese government summary of Xi's remarks at the meetings in Busan, South Korea. Quote, "Both sides should consider the bigger picture and focus on the long-term benefits of cooperation, rather than falling into a vicious cycle of mutual retaliation," Xi said. By twists and turns, Xi was likely referring to the last several months, or nearly a year, of tit-for-tat retaliatory measures in the form of tariffs, sanctions, and export controls. Earlier this month, China escalated dramatically, strengthening its hand by announcing sweeping new limits on the sales on rare earths, critical minerals that are needed for almost all modern technology. Cutting off their supply could cripple U.S. industries. Xi's message seemed to be Beijing had proven its capacity to hit back, and Washington would do well to remember it. Quote, "After Trump launched his trade and tariff war, China was the only country that matched the United States blow for blow," said Zhu Feng, a professor of international relations at Nanjing University, noting that the biggest win for China could be that the United States might think twice before imposing new measures on China. Quote, "If Trump had forced China to implement its complete export controls on rare earths, it would have been a lose-lose situation for both sides," he said. At the same time, Xi also seemed to grasp that Trump needed what Trump needed, a deal that he could sell as a victory at home. The outcome allowed Trump to claim a win for American farmers and companies, even though China had largely restored the status quo by agreeing to buy soybeans and to hold off on further restricting the export of rare earths. So again, I want to be very clear. To the extent that they gave anything to Trump, all they did was basically say, yeah, we'll just do what we were doing before and what we were happy to do until you started this ridiculous trade war. So no major concessions, none. As far as Trump is concerned, we just ended up right back at square one. What the hell was the point of all this? And if anything, he's in a weaker position now. Trump pumped a fist in the air as he boarded Air Force One, then said on the plane that Xi had agreed to take more action to stop the flow of chemicals used to make fentanyl from reaching the United States, which, again, we read this post. He also said that China promised to purchase more U.S. soybeans. After the two leaders met, China's Ministry of Commerce said in a statement that it would suspend for 1 year the restrictions on rare earths that were announced in October. The ministry made no mention of earlier controls announced in April. Separately, Trump said he would cut in half the 20% tariffs he'd imposed on Chinese goods to pressure China to do more to stop fentanyl trafficking. The reduction announced on Thursday brings overall tariffs on Chinese goods to around 47% from 57%, he said. The Chinese Commerce Ministry also said the two sides had agreed to a 1-year extension of a truce to limit additional tariffs that was originally set to expire on November 10th. Some experts said that China inevitably had the upper hand in the trade fight because the Trump administration never had a clear objective. Quote, "I think it's an approach that can be safely described as tactics without strategy," said Jonathan Zinn, a fellow at the Brookings Institution who previously analyzed Chinese politics at the CIA. Quote, "Ostensibly, the goal was to address some of the meaty trade issues that had long bedeviled the relationship. Instead, the PRC side has successfully orchestrated a game of whack-a-mole for the Trump administration," Mr. Zinn said, using the abbreviation for the People's Republic of China. Still, in a potential concession by Beijing, China's official summary of the meeting did not mention Taiwan, the island democracy that Beijing claims. It's a topic that Chinese leaders usually bring up when meeting their U.S. counterparts to pressure Washington to dial back U.S. support for the island. The agreement struck on Thursday could mean at least a temporary calm in the fractious U.S.-China relationship. Trump said the two leaders had discussed working together to end the war in Ukraine. He said that he would travel to China in April and Xi would visit the United States after that. Xi also played to Trump's preference for personal rapport by appealing to Trump's domestic agenda, saying that he believed China's development, quote, goes hand in hand with the president's, quote, vision to make America great again. Trump, for his part, flattered Xi, calling him, quote, a great leader of a great country and, quote, a great friend. Quote, it's a personalized style of diplomacy that plays well to both leaders' instincts, said Lizzie C. Lee, a fellow focusing on Chinese economy at the Asia Society Policy Institute. Quote, for now, these gestures of goodwill seem to set the tone for a period of managed stability. Still, any progress made on Thursday could easily be erased by moves on either side that are interpreted as violating the agreement. A deal struck last month was almost undone when the U.S. expanded the range of companies banned from accessing U.S. technology, which would have affected many Chinese companies. China then announced its export controls on rare earths. That prompted Trump to threaten to call off Thursday's meeting and impose yet more tariffs on Chinese goods. In the absence of a finalized agreement, it is unclear how long the current détente will last. Quote, maybe I'm jaded because I've seen this movie too many times, but these are issues that are relatively easy to roll back and also to accuse the other side of bad faith, said Jia Ian Zhang, a professor of political science at the National University of Singapore, about the state of the truce. Thursday's progress threatened to be overshadowed by an announcement that Trump made just before the meeting, and we'll talk about this, by the way, in a separate video. He said that the United States would resume nuclear weapons testing for the first time in more than 3 decades. But Trump seemed to suggest on Air Force One that the move was not directed at China, and analysts said it was not clear that Xi would see it as a provocation. More important, experts in China said, is that the American president is focused on working with China. Quote, if Trump truly wants to implement something, if he wants to go east, his staff wouldn't dare go west. So again, this seems to be all sorts of Trump, once again, basically overplaying his hand, getting outplayed by a more competent leader into giving more than he received. And again, to the extent that he got anything tangible, it was a resumption of what China was already doing before Trump provoked them into not doing it. Again, it's insane. It's absolutely insane. What the hell did we gain from this? Virtually nothing. So, there you have it. Trump, of course, is going to try to spin this into a major victory, but those paying attention know that it's not. And maybe Trump should back off this tariff-loaded, tit-for-tat global trade war bullshit before he causes even more economic harm. In the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments.